like to stand and look at that thing all the time.
That's why I have my sunglasses on. Do you want sunglasses?
No, do not. It's not.
Why? You're gonna.
No, we're fine.
I can't remove them.
Yeah, that's fine, Dad. So usually when you are asking someone to do something that's fun, you want to make sure that they're comfortable.
They're in a seat. They're not doing push-ups.
Why don't you do push-ups?
Okay, go ahead. And we're not going to be comfortable this whole time anyway.
Okay.
So just do what you want. If we want to answer, we will.
There we go. So, hello, you guys. Can you please state your names for the record?
My whole name?
Yeah.
We'll go back from the beginning. Louise Carol Bonvicino, Parrish, Hyatt.
And my whole name is Curtis Vernon Hyatt.
So where were you guys born?
I was born in Oakland, California at Providence Hospital.
And I was born in Raiden, Oklahoma, in a half dugout.
When you guys were born over there, how long did you guys live over there after you were born?
Well, like I said, I was born in Oakland. Lived with my mom and dad for approximately 6 weeks. And then Mommy and I moved in with Grandma in Oakland.
And I was born in Raiden, Oklahoma. And sometime between then and 4 years of age, we moved to Cheyenne, Oklahoma. And then in 1941, they moved to California with the Grapes of Wrath.
Did you guys enjoy school?
Yes. I went to Sequoia Grammar School, Bret Hart Junior High, and Oakland High School.
And I went to 9th Street, 109th Street Grammar School, and then went to Gompers Junior High for 7th grade, back to my uncle's in Tucumcari, New Mexico, for my 8th year, and had that at Tucumcari, and then went back to LA and Gompers, and then 9th through joining the Navy in '55, John C. Fremont High School. Can't say I had an enjoyable time, but I got through.
Do you guys want me to bring out the canopy? I can bring out the canopy. Do you guys have a best or funniest memory from school?
Well, what comes to my mind is when I was in high school, my girlfriend and I, Barbara, took modern dance. And things were a little bit different in the 50s. We made our not uniforms, but our costumes. And just moments before we're supposed to go on the stage in front of the whole audience in the high school assembly, the teacher cut us. We were too risque for the audience at the high school. So, I mean, it's funny to look at now, but we were embarrassed and really felt bad at the time.
Oh.
And I cannot think of anything particularly in...
Did you guys pull any fun pranks?
I was too busy working after school.
What were you doing after school working?
I had a job working in a Pacific laundry machine shop from the time I was 13, and I worked summers, days after school. Anytime I could work, I worked for, geez, I was making 75 cents an hour, and that was good money. And till I joined the Navy in the middle of my high school year, 12th year, January, I joined the Navy and graduated with my class in June, I guess, when they had the regular, because I had enough credits to get my diploma, and I went to the Navy, and that became my life for the next 10 years.
Well, heck yeah. You guys, do you have a lot of hobbies that you like to do? What would you say your best and most extreme and outperforming and all-star, and what you are most known for? That type of hobby. I know we're heavily leaning on sewing for Grandma, but we'd also like to hear all the hobbies that you guys like to do and have done.
Growing up, I spent my summers at the Diamond swimming pool. I mean, I was a regular little fish at the time. I swam all the time. Winters, I was on the roller rink, down at Diamond roller rink. But you know, as long as we're doing this, Katie, you know, you asked me where I lived and so forth when I was little. I think it's important that people would know. Once we moved in with Grandma, my mom and dad divorced when I was 6 weeks old. And my mom remarried when I was 7, and that's who I called my dad. His name was Thomas Hode. My mom's Edna Louise Euchre Hode. It just seems like my dad was a merchant seaman, so Mommy and I were home a lot, and we had a small apartment house. It was our apartment and 3 others. And when my dad was out at sea, my mom and I took care of like the painting and whatever needed to be done around the house. She taught me to be very independent, and I think Kurt will probably say today I can be very independent. I don't know, when Kurt was talking, these other things were running through my head, and I'll remember them as we go on. But growing up, swimming all summer and roller skating all winter.
Who taught you how to sew?
My mom. I started on a treadle sewing machine. My brother was born, and this is who I started with. She taught me how to make little men's shirts and shorts with they call them flat felt seams, which you don't even hear of anymore. But I did a lot of sewing. By the time I was high school, a teacher finagled so I could stay in the sewing class all year rather than do food and half a year and sewing the other half. I hated food. And so I did that. Oh, I forgot. In junior high, I won a certificate to singer sewing school for the summer, and for whatever reason, I have no idea, I was never able to do it. But I did win the sewing award. So I don't know what else right now. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
What about you, Grandpa? Your hobbies? I feel like you're a woodworker. I feel like you're a whittler.
No, you're wrong, totally wrong there. I tell your grandmother that give me a piece of wood and I can screw it up. As I said, I started off working when I was 13 years old. Joined the Navy and went through, well, my history, I guess, through the Navy was just working in the different ships on the pier. I went to pipe fitter school.
Ooh.
And then never got really working with school as a pipe fitter until 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I finally went to an onboard ship. I was on the Kawashiwi. No, Kawashiwi was in 1958 when I went back in the Navy. I was on USS Hooper Island, ARG-17, one of the last steam reciprocating ships in the Navy. It was actually launched the same year I was born, 1937. And then I went to the Jason, another repair ship, got discharged.
Now let her get caught up with where we're at, because you're already into your early 20s at that point. Well,
So you're saying you did nothing for fun ever, Grandpa? You never had any fun?
Motorcycle.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So tell me about your first motorcycle.
Harley Davidson, 165, I think it was. It was not really that much because it wasn't big enough to get out on the highway and go for rides, but it was transportation around San Diego, and that didn't last long. And then I got out of the Navy and went to work for Southern California Gas Company.
Well, heck yeah. We
Lasted me 8 weeks.
that motorcycle lasted 8 weeks.
No, the job was
The job.
the job lasted for
Okay.
8 weeks, and I went back in the Navy.
yeah, when I was in high school, I worked, they call it a hiker's rest, up on Redwood Road. And to get there, Louise had to use her 2 feet, and to get home the same way. At the time, parents didn't transport little darlings to and from anything, and it was like a 2-mile hike to work and a 2-mile hike home. It was a little restaurant, and I'd do that on weekends. And then at other times I would get a part-time job at a dry goods store, like they called it National Dollar Store. And so my senior year, I worked 4 hours at school, 4 hours at work. Trying to think, and then once I got out of school, went and applied at the phone company and got hired. and that was in 1957. And I worked there for a couple years until my first daughter was born.
How did you meet my mom?
I met your grandmother.
Oh, how did you meet my mom, Carrie McCullum? Here, really quick, from the
She
phone
was asking
company.
me.
Okay.
Oh, we'll get to that. It's on the agenda, I promise.
Yeah. Oh, Carrie came in years later. Married Sterner Parish in September '57.
And where did you meet?
Sterner and I?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, through a friend that I was going with at the time. It was his friend. We all hung around as kids. I guess my hobby in high school, besides the other things I did, I learned how to work on cars because my boyfriends at the time had cars, and I'd help them with the motors and stuff. So Sterner was part of this, and this is how I met him. And while I was in high school, and I graduated in June, and we got married in September.
And then you met my mom.
Okay, Carrie came into the picture much, much later. About trying to think when Lynn's was born.
89,
Was
during
it
the earthquake.
1989? Okay. I knew it was in that area. I was working for my girlfriend and her husband, Mary Ann and Richard, as a part-time bookkeeper. She and I split the job. And the mechanic there was Larry. And Larry was...
Oh.
I'm trying to think. Let me see how to put this. Anyway, Larry had moved, or had gotten the job in Dublin, and I believe at the time Carrie's job was moving to Pleasanton. I'm not sure. And they needed a babysitter. And Larry, if I remember the story correctly, told Carrie that there's a nice lady at work that might babysit Lindsay. So anyway, Carrie called me, and we met one day, met her one whole day, and we decided, or she decided that she would want me to babysit. And for some reason, I'm thinking Carrie was still pregnant at the time.
Ooh.
So she was just getting ready for this babysitting. And I guess Lynn's was about a month old, thereabouts, when I started watching her. So that's when I met your mother.
And how did you guys meet, Grandpa?
We met in the Elks Club. It's many years later. 1975 was when the Los Banos Elks was formed, initiated, and I started going to some of the functions, and somewhere along the line I met Sterner and Louise. Somewhere between then and 2012, I guess it was.
At our installation?
If that was the installation, yeah. And we got married about that time. But there's a couple of divorces, or one divorce, and a couple of,
And a death.
and a death, and things happened after that.
Well,
I go on a,
you were on your own for 20 years.
yeah, I got divorced in 93. I started trying to get divorced, and finally in Yeah. Started trying to get divorced. Finally got divorced in 95. And 93 I got in my motorhome and hit the road. And I was back and forth from Alaska to Yucatan Peninsula. Somewhere along the line, this broad asked me to come up and help her be initiated or installed as an exalted ruler in the Elks, which I had become an exalted ruler before I went on the road.
But she was the first woman, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was the exalted ruler.
The
And
Elks
first
Lodge.
woman exalted
And
ruler
first,
in our
cool.
lodge.
That's so cool.
and she finagled in me, and she finally one day said, "We got to get married."
Yep.
And I said, "Okay." I had been divorced 20-some years at that time, and it was me and my Mexican woman.
And let's tell everyone on the camera who that is, because I was going to bring her up too.
My Mexican woman was a kitty cat that I was introduced to in Mazatlan.
And how old
And
was she?
She was about maybe 5 weeks old. And she ruined she ruled my life, not ruined it.
Ruled it.
She ruled it
Yeah.
for the next 19 years.
Aw.
So,
But you know, when like we already gotten into the fact that we're married, Sterner passed away in 2006. So from 2006 to 2012, I was on my own.
And you were focused and diving into work and diving into exalted ruler. And
yeah, I kept myself busy that way.
Yeah.
But I thought that should have been on there. You
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely.
And you know,
Because time passed by really fast for us.
look at the camera here.
Time passed by so fast for us, but it took us a second to realize it was going slow. It was a slow 6 years, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I kept busy. That was the main thing. I think anybody that's in that situation finds something to do and do it. You know, that's how I felt. You know, so. But you know, the other thing that hasn't been on the camera, and for the kids to know and remember, my grandparents both came from Germany in the turn of 1900. I'm not, if it's 1906, 1904, something in that way. And they both came in to the United States with Grandpa needing to be sponsored. He had to have some money in the bank, and he also had to have a job. His uncle had a job waiting for him. You didn't just come in. You were also checked medically, so you didn't bring any, you know, to
What would you have done if you didn't go to the, you know, like that's cool. Like you said.
Well, something was brought up a few minutes ago, and I think it's worthwhile being noted about my grandparents that came from Germany. His name was Gottfried Euchre, and Grandma's name was Minna Euchre. And these are the names that my cousin was able to go to Ellis Island and find them in the books there. I just thought that'd be a good idea to be mentioning that. And my real father's name was John von Vicino. Bonvicino. Nobody through school could ever the teachers could never do it right. And besides, my first name has no O in it. It's L-U-I-S-E. And I had a Spanish teacher try to embarrass me in front of a class. And she says, you know, it's one thing that you miss the questions in Spanish on the test, but when you can't even spell your own name, and I knew exactly who she was going to mention, and she was like that type of teacher that she wanted to like ridicule you in front of the class. Of course, she said my name, and I said, I'm sorry, but that is how you spell my name. It was given to me. So that was, all of a sudden came to mind. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. So I think that, and then my first husband, Sterner, was Sterner Gordon Parrish. And if the kids ever want to remember that, that was his full name. And he was born in 1938, April Fool's Day, 1938. I was July 10th, 1939. So we were a year apart. And I'm just trying, I think that's kind of all the family things. Mommy's name was Edna Louise Euchre. Then, of course, she married my dad, Bonfacino. And then she ended up married to my stepfather, which I called my dad, for about 40 years. And his last name was Hoad, H-O-A-D. And I have a half-brother, Tommy, or Thomas Jr.
And then we wanted to know about the births of your children.
Maria was born in April 20th, 1959, Maria Louise. Gordon is Gordon Sterner. He was September 13th, 1960. And Julia Dawn was born July 30th, 1962. Those are the three kids.
And do you have fun birth stories about these babies?
Fun birth stories. Well, the funniest one was with Julie Dawn. I went in there to labor, and the nurse proceeds to tell Sterner and myself that this child's not coming for many hours. And she walked out of the room, and I told Sterner to get his ass down there because this baby's coming. I mean, this is number 3. Okay, this baby's coming. And sure enough, she's the only child I had natural, because she came so fast that there was no time for any medication. So that's my funny birth story. So I don't know what else to say.
Well, we want to know from both of you either your favorite vacation that you've taken or your greatest accomplishments. The whole array.
I guess my greatest accomplishment is meeting up and hooking up with her.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, honey.
Other than that, I spent 28 years as Navy. Retired from them and retired from state of California, retired from the federal government, and got into a motor home and traveled over about 40 states or so, 2 or 3 countries.
I guess my favorite vacation was something that I'd always wanted to do, and I was able to do it after we got married, was he took me up to Alaska on a cruise. And that was really something for me. I had never done anything like that before, and we were able to do that.
And I had went to Alaska a couple of years before that in my motorhome. Spent 5 months up there, and I thought it was wonderful. And she won't go up there with me. We quit RVing.
We quit RVing, that's why. But we're going back again this year in the fall.
One of the best trips I guess I had was coming down the Colorado River on a raft with there was 30 of us single RVers, and we all said we wanted to go down the around the Colorado, and so we rented a couple of rafts and came down the Colorado. 8-day trip down, all kind of fantastic. And a 17-day trip traveling the Nile wasn't bad either.
As you can see, he's done a little bit more traveling than me.
Oh, you're catching up.
I think our biggest trip was going to Australia and
Tahiti.
yeah, we did Tahiti. That was okay. Don't waste your time going.
No.
Okay. So, but that was our 2 longest trips.
Do you guys have any parting thoughts for everyone?
No, just be yourself.
If you think it'll be fun, do it. That's what we've been doing for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
What surprises you about yourself?
What surprises you about yourself?
I'm still alive.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Oh.
I'm 85 and he's 87 this summer in July, and I guess neither of us ever thought about being at this point in our life, you know. Because I think about him being 87, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to be 90 pretty soon.
And
Because I'll be right behind him, so. Yeah.
well, I've spent 15 years in the Navy as a diver, and I was a diver for the state of California for a couple of years. And motorcycle riding, I rode bikes for, well, first time I rode a bike was, I was 16 years old, and I rode a 1937 Indian. It was four cylinder, shaft drive, most fantastic bike anybody ever rode.
So, what else is there, Katie? I think that's us.
I think we're good. Can we have a kiss for the camera, sweet couple?
A kiss for the camera.
Yeah. We can do a kiss. I love you guys.
Okay.
I can't reach you.
Okay.
And say we
Goodbye.
love you.
Grandpa, this is my question for you. It could be on camera. Which part of the federal government did you work for?
Which what?
Which part of the federal
Navy.
government?
Navy.
Bureau of Reclamation. Bureau of Reclamation. They built the San Luis Dam, and I started to work for them as a mechanic.
Okay.
Did
See,
that.
I knew it was something because he said that separate. Federal government was different from Navy, and
Yeah.
so I was wondering. I work for the federal government right now.